Today is January, one of them J months, 24th. Thus have I heard on one occasion, this is the greater discourse of questions and answers. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living in Sawati in Jeta's Grove, Anathan Mitika's Park. Then, when it was evening, the Venerable Mahā Koṭṭhita rose from meditation, went to the Venerable Sāriputta, and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Venerable Sāriputta, "One who is unwise is said, friend." With reference to what is this said, one who is unwise? One does not wisely understand. One does not wisely understand, friend. That's why it was said, one who is unwise. And what doesn't one wisely understand? One does not wisely understand this is suffering. How many times did you hear wisely in there?
A lot of times.
Okay, you know what that means. One does not wisely understand this is the origin of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand. One does not wisely understand, friend. That's why it is said, one who is unwise. Saying, "Good friend," the Venerable Mahā Koṭṭhita delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Sāriputta's words. Then he asked a further question. One who is wise. One who is wise is said, friend, with reference to what was this said, one who is wise. One wisely understands. One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. What does one wisely understand? One wisely understands this is suffering. One wisely understands this is the origin of suffering. One wisely understands this is a cessation of suffering. One wisely understands this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands. One wisely understands. That's why it is said, one who is wise. Consciousness. Consciousness is said, friend, with reference to what is consciousness said. It cognizes.
Consciousness cognizes.
It cognizes, friend. That's why consciousness is said. What does it cognize? It cognizes this is pleasant. It cognizes this is painful. It cognizes this is neither painful nor pleasant. It cognizes. It cognizes, friend.
Consciousness gives rise to feelings, or what? Or consciousness gives rise to? I don't quite remember from last night.
In order to see, you have to have good working eye.
Okay. Consciousness.
There has to be color and form. When good working eye hits color and form, eye consciousness arises.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting of these three things is called contact. With contact as conditioned feeling arises. You'll get more of that in a bit. That is why consciousness is said. wisdom and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them? Wisdom and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjoined. And it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one wisely understands, that one cognizes, and what one cognizes, that one wisely understands. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference. Now listen to this next question. What is the difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness? These states that are conjoined, not disjoined. The difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjoined, is this. Wisdom is to be developed, and consciousness is to be fully understood. Feeling, friend. Feeling is said, friend, with reference to what was this said. It feels. It feels, friend. That is why feeling is said. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, it feels pain, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. It feels, friends. That is why feeling is said. Perception. Perception is said, friend, with reference to what is perception said. It perceives. It perceives, friend. That is why perception is said. What does it perceive? It perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red, it perceives white. It perceives, it perceives. Perception is a thing that gives it name. Whatever that is. You look at that, you say cup.
So it's also recognition? Like, to perceive it and give it a name, you already have?
No.
No.
You already, if you cognize something, and then your mind says, that's what this is. It comes up with the concept. Okay, this is blue, this is red, this is white, this is yellow.
The name comes up with the concept?
The name and the concept are one and the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoined? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them? Feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend. These states are conjoined, not disjoined. And it is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. Listen closely. For what one feels, that one perceives. And what one perceives, that one cognizes. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjoined. It's impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. Friend, what can be known by purified mind consciousness released from the 5 faculties? Friend, by purified mind consciousness released from the 5 faculties, the base of infinite space can be known. Thus, space is infinite. The base of infinite consciousness can be known. Consciousness is infinite. Released from the 5 faculties. What are we talking about?
5 senses. Physical senses.
Right, it's mind only. Unless there is contact.
These are the
If you're no, while you're in the jhana. If you're sitting and I come up and touch you, you will feel that because there was contact. But your mind has a strong equanimity in it, so it's doesn't shake. You just know that you were touched. If I say something, you will hear it. You won't react to it. So it takes contact at the sense doors in order for the body to be seen. This is called subtle body. And when there is no contact, these things don't arise. So there is mind alone, right?
Yeah.
Consciousness is infinite, and the base of nothingness can be known. Thus, there is nothing. Friend, with what does one understand a state that can be known? Interesting question. Friend, one understates a state that can be known with the eye of wisdom. What is the eye of wisdom?
Seeing the Four Noble Truths.
Seeing everything without craving. Your mind is pure, your mind is bright.
Yeah.
Friend, what is the purpose of wisdom? The purpose of wisdom, friend, is direct knowledge. Its purpose is full understanding. Its purpose is abandoning. As you get deeper in your meditation, you'll start to understand that in deeper and deeper ways. This is one of the deeper suttas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just kind of seems like it would make sense to me right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Friend, how many conditions are there for the arising of right view? Interesting question. Friend, there are 2 conditions for the arising of right view. The voice of another and wise attention. These are the 2 conditions for the arising of right view. You don't know right view until you're really told in subtle ways about dependent origination. You would never guess it.
Yeah.
Friend, by how many factors is right view assisted when it has deliverance of mind for its path, fruit? Oh, no. For its path and deliverance of mind for its path and fruition. When it has deliverance of mind by wisdom and wisdom for its path and deliverance of mind for its path and fruition. Friend, right view is assisted by 5 factors when one has deliverance of mind for its path, deliverance of mind for its path and fruition. When it has deliverance by wisdom for its path, and deliverance by wisdom for its path and fruition. Here, friend, right view is assisted by virtue, learning, discussion, serenity, and insight. Right view is assisted by these 5 factors. Assisted by these 5 factors has deliverance of mind for its path. Deliverance of mind for its path and fruition. It has deliverance by wisdom for its path. Deliverance by wisdom for its path and fruition. Friend, how many kinds of being are there? There are these 3 kinds of being, friend. Sense sphere being, fine material being, and immaterial being. Fine material being, this is gross material.
Mm-hmm.
It means one of the other higher realms. And immaterial being means getting into the arupa jhanas and being reborn in a mind-only state. No body. Friend, how is a renewal of being in the future generated? Friend, renewal of being in the future is generated through the delighting in this and that on the part of beings who are hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. You're hindered by ignorance because you ignore how the Four Noble Truths work. You're fettered, you're held down by the craving.
Yeah.
Friend, how is a renewal of being in the future not generated? Friend, with the fading away of ignorance, with the arising of true knowledge, with the cessation of craving, renewal of being in the future is not generated. Now we're going to talk a bit about the first jhana. Friend, what is the first jhana? Here, friend, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states. A monk enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by thinking and examining thought, with joy and happiness born of seclusion. This is called the first jhana.
May I ask a quick question? The jhanas are described differently in the Theravada. Where are those from? Those from the Virupa jhana that you're talking about? Maybe that's not the right one, but I mean, how come the way they're described here is so different from what I've been told they are?
Because they don't understand what jhana is.
Where does their understanding come from?
Teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher, without ever looking to see whether it's correct or not. Zen, lots of different kinds of vipassana. They're deathly afraid of jhana. But they're practicing a one-pointed kind of concentration. And as a result, they say jhana you'll never be able to attain nibbana. Just do straight vipassana instead. That's the way you attain nibbana. But actually, you need both. As you hear me say over and over again, you have to have both. Friend, how many factors does the first jhana have? Friend, the first jhana has 5 factors. Here, when a monk has entered upon the first jhana, there occur thinking and examining thought, joy, happiness, and unification of mind. That is how the first jhana has 5 factors. Friend, how many factors are abandoned in the first jhana and how many factors are possessed? Friend, in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. Here, when a monk is entered upon the first jhana, sensual desire is abandoned at the time you're in the jhana. Ill will is abandoned. Sloth and torpor are abandoned. Restlessness and anxiety are abandoned. Doubt is abandoned. And there occur thinking and examining thought, joy, happiness, and unification of mind. That is how the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain. That is, the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, and the body faculty. Now these 5 faculties each have their separate field, their separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain. You don't smell with your ears. What is their resort? What experiences their fields and domain?
Consciousness.
Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain. That is, the eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, tongue faculty, and body faculty. Now these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain. They have mind as their resort, and mind experiences their fields and domain. Friend, as to these 5 faculties, that is the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body faculty, what do these 5 faculties stand in dependence on? Friend, as to these 5 faculties, that is the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body faculty, these 5 faculties stand in dependence on vitality. Friend, what does vitality stand in dependence on? Vitality stands in dependence on heat. Friend, what does heat stand in dependence on? Heat stands in dependence on vitality. Just now, friend, we understood the Venerable Sāriputta to have said vitality stands in dependence on heat. And now you say heat stands in dependence on vitality. How should the meaning of this statement be regarded? Reasonable question.
Yeah.
In that case, friend, I shall give you a simile. For some wise men, here understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Just as when an oil lamp is burning, its radiance is seen in dependence on its flame. and its flame is seen in dependence on its radiance. If you don't light a fire, you ain't going to see any, you ain't going to have any radiance, right?
Right.
Only when you light it do you have radiance.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no radiance if there is no fire. They depend on each other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Took me a second.
Don't feel bad. You're catching on faster than most people. Oh. So too, vitality stands in dependence on heat, and heat stands in dependence on vitality. Friend, are vital formations things can be felt, or are vital formations one thing and things that can be felt another? Vital formations, friend, are not things that can be felt. If vital formation were things that can be felt, then a monk is engaged upon the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness would not be seen to emerge from it. Because vital formations are one thing, and things that can be felt another. A monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness can be seen to emerge from it. Friend, when this body is bereft of how many states, is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log? Friend, when this body is bereft of three states, vitality, heat, and consciousness, it is then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log. Friend, what is the difference between one who is dead and one who has completed his time, and a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness? Friend, in the case of one who is dead, who has completed his time, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided. His verbal formations have ceased and subsided. His mental formations have ceased and subsided. His vitality exhausted. His heat has been dissipated. His faculties are broken up, fully broken up. In the case of a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided. His verbal formations have ceased and subsided. His mental formations have ceased and subsided, but his vitality is not exhausted. His heat has not been dissipated, and his faculties become exceptionally clear. This is the difference between one who is dead and one who has completed his time, and a monk who has entered upon the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. Deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind? Friend, there are 4 conditions for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Here, with abandoning pleasure and pain, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a monk enters upon and abides in the 4th jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, in purity of mindfulness, duty, equanimity. These are the four conditions for the attainment of neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are two conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind: non-attention to all signs and attention to the signless element. I feel like a flea has been biting my arm today. No. It's not for real. It's the same spot all the time. Do you understand that?
I don't understand
Non-attention to all signs.
Yeah, I understand that part.
And attention to signless element. In other words, your mind goes into the signlessness. This is kind of funny wording, to be quite honest, because your attention is not there anymore. You don't know you're in that state till you come out. These are the two conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind? There are three conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind: non-attention to all signs, attention to the signless element, and the prior determination of its duration. So, making determinations. I think I told you right before you go to sleep, I want you to make a determination what time you're going to wake up.
Yeah, I've heard that already.
Okay,
I don't know.
that's the start of the determination.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before in my life, and it tends to work most of the time.
Well,
You know.
then if you get to a certain place in your meditation, I can tell you how to get into mastery. And that's working with determination a lot. So say I want you to sit in the first jhana, not go any higher than the first jhana, for 15 minutes and 8 seconds.
Interesting.
And the next time you sit, or next time you try it, I want it to be 14 minutes and 59 seconds. And the next time you do it, I want it to be 15 minutes and 18 seconds. Darn. And when you can hit it every time, then we move up to 30 minutes. And when you can hit that every time, then we move up to an hour.
That's crazy.
Well, he's not done yet.
And then when you come out after an hour, I want you to go in and out of the first jhana in 3 seconds. Or 5 seconds. And we do that with every jhana.
Wow.
So working with your determinations on something simple like getting up is just the start of it.
Okay.
Isn't it?
That sounds
Yes.
good.
And it takes a wee bit of time to finish.
It takes a wee bit of time.
But it's worth it.
Yes, it is. These are the three conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind. Now here we're talking about just arahats and anagamis. They can go in and out of this state anytime they want.
What's the
Respect-
anagami?
Third stage of awakening. You've given up doubt, belief that rites and rituals lead to nibbana, belief in a permanent, a personal self. You've given up lust. You've given up hatred. So they don't even arise in your mind anymore.
Is the doubt that you give up, is that the hindrance of doubt? I mean,
Yeah.
completely?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you never question whether you're doing it right anymore?
No, you know.
Yeah.
Friend, how many conditions are there for the emergence from the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are two conditions for the emergence of the signless deliverance of mind. Attention to all signs and non-attention to the signless element. These are the two conditions for the emergence of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the signless deliverance of mind. Are these states different in meaning and different in name, or are they one in meaning and different in name only? Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, the signless deliverance of mind. There is a way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name, and there is a way in which they are one in meaning and different in name only. You gotta figure it's gotta be like that. What, friend, is the way in which these things are different in meaning and different in name? Here a monk abides pervading 1/4 of his mind imbued with loving kindness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above, below, around, and everywhere. And to all as to himself, he abides encompassing. He abides pervading the all-encompassing with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. He abides pervading 1/4 of his mind with compassion. You'll hear about that in a bit. He abides pervading 1/4 of his mind with joy. He abides pervading 1/4 of his mind imbued with equanimity. These are the 4 Brahma Viharas. Likewise the second, the third, and the fourth, so above, below, around, and everywhere. And to all as to himself, he abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. This is called the immeasurable deliverance of mind. Now, what happens when you get to the 4th jhana with your loving kindness? You lose all of your gross feelings in the body. You don't feel your body. You won't feel the loving kindness here. It will go up into your head. Your head is the only thing you'll really feel. Then as you go deeper into the loving kindness and you start pervading in all the different directions and that sort of thing, the feeling of loving kindness will change to a feeling of compassion. You have to tell me what it's like. And you'll start feeling an expansion without any boundary at all. You'll just feel expansion in all the directions at the same time. That is called infinite space. Then when you go deep enough in infinite space, you will start to experience individual consciousnesses arise and pass away, arise and pass away, arise and pass away. It's like looking at a movie that's going too slow and you're seeing the individual frames. Now that happens at all of your sense doors.
Is there a lot of them?
Wait and see.
Seems like there would be a lot.
Well, that was 1,000,000 and you're talking about
Okay.
seeing individual ones.
Pixels in the TV set.
Yeah.
Beyond HD.
Big screen. Giant screen.
Okay.
You're teaching yourself right there exactly that everything is impermanent. Because it's happening and your awareness has become so sharp that you're able to see the individual consciousnesses. Okay?
And nothing stays the same. It's all just changing.
The consciousness arises and passes away. The next one comes up and goes away. That's seeing impermanence, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it gets kind of tiresome when you start seeing it at all the sense doors. That's suffering. And you see up close and personal that there is no controller. Everything is impersonal. It's just happening all on its own.
Yeah.
When something hits the eye base, then you're going to see the individual eye consciousnesses. Something hits the ear base, you're going to see the individual ear consciousnesses.
Cool.
When you get to that state, then I tell you, okay, I want you to see what's in between each one of those consciousnesses.
That's always a fun one.
I don't want much. And the feeling will go from joy to very, very strong equanimity. Mind is not looking outside of itself anymore. So there's nothing there. And it's probably one of the most interesting states of meditation you can experience.
There's nothing there when you...
There's nothing. And you'll see a bunch of different things, but nothingness is where you really learn to fine-tune your energy. Just little tiny bits. You might have to fine-tune it 8 or 10 times in a sitting. Who knows? Depends on you. Things get so subtle that the vibration that you saw in nothingness gets so subtle that you can't tell whether it's really vibrating or not. This is called a state of perception or non-perception. And you don't know you're in that state till you come out at first.
Yeah.
When you come out, then you 6R everything that you saw while you were in that state. There's still stuff that does arise. It's just hard to see it. We're talking about getting into the very subtle.
Yeah.
And eventually, your mind will go into the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness. When it comes out, you will see the links of dependent origination, how they arise, how they cease.
It kind of makes sense that you would see that coming out of that.
Well, everything in Buddhism is about seeing and understanding, right?
Yeah.
So when you finally see that this is exactly how this stuff works, it's such a big oh wow that you, after you let go of the formation, there is no more condition. That's Nibbana. That's how it works. And it can happen at any time. You can get into the cessation of perception, feeling, and consciousness any time from experiencing the first jhana on, depending on how ready you are.
You would know it? So that's a dumb question.
Who is that?
Coyotes.
And what friend is a deliverance of mind through nothingness? Here, with the complete surmounting of the base of infinite consciousness, aware that there is no thing. A monk enters upon and abides in the base of nothingness. Thus, this is called the deliverance of mind through nothingness. And what, friend, is a deliverance of mind through voidness? Here a monk gone to the forest or to a root of a tree or an empty hut reflects thus: this is void of a self, or of what belongs to a self. This is called the deliverance of mind through voidness. I know that a lot of other Buddhists would come up with all kinds of weird ideas about what voidness is.
Yeah.
But what are we really saying there? You're saying that it doesn't matter what arises, there is no controller. It's not personal. And what, friend, is the signless deliverance of mind? Here, with the non-attention to all signs, a monk enters upon and abides in the signless collectedness of mind. This is called the signless deliverance of mind. This is a way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name. And what, friend, is a way in which these states are one in meaning and different in name only? Lust is a maker of measurement. Hate is a maker of measurement. Delusion is a maker of measurement. A monk whose taints are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of immeasurable deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, and void of delusion. What's that say? It's devoid of craving. Lust is a something. Hatred is a something. Delusion is a something. A monk whose taints are destroyed, these are abandoned. Cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with so that they no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of deliverance of mind through nothingness, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, and void of delusion. Lust is a maker of signs. Hate is a maker of signs. Delusion is a maker of signs. A monk whose taints are destroyed, these are abandoned. In a monk whose taints are destroyed, these are abandoned. Cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of signless deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, and void of delusion. This is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different in name only. That is what the Venerable Sāriputta said. The Venerable Mahā Koṭṭhita was satisfied and delighted in the Venerable Sāriputta's words.
He's a smart guy too. Not just the Buddha.
Well, he was second to the Buddha in wisdom. And it took him a long time to attain Dharma.
Some moisture.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, 2 weeks.
You're running a little behind schedule.
But the thing is, Moggallana, he and Sāriputta were buddies for many, many, many lifetimes. And they both made a determination that when a Buddha comes around, that they would meet and become the first and second chief disciple. Moggallana was foremost, he was second to the Buddha in psychic ability. Sāriputta was second to the Buddha in wisdom.
That's why Moggallana, there's stories about him going to other realms and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was always popping around. And he lived up at Vulture Peak for quite a while. And he'd come down for alms round and he'd see some hungry ghost flying around and he would smile and everybody looked at him and said, "What are you smiling about?" "Well, I'll tell you when we get back. And I'll tell you in the presence of the Buddha so you know that what I saw was really, really there." And then he would do that.
And I sat in his cave where he,
Oh,
Really?
cool.
yes.
Very cool.
As I understand it, that's a favorite place for the Indians to go to the bathroom.
No. It's a favorite
They've-
place for the Brahmins.
They've cleaned it up.
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah. Yeah, it's on Vulture's Peak. It's almost all the way up. You can still go up higher and then you get to the top, but you come down the path. There's Indians guarding it with rifles from like 1850. It's just really, but it's an entrance like this, and the
Oh,
matter
you're a short
rooms.
guy, huh?
Yeah, you have to you can go in and then it kind of gets up a little higher. You can't stand up. You can sit in there. There's about this much room.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a comfortable cave at all.
Mm-mm.
No, it's not a big, this is just for going in and probably sitting and maybe
Mm.
one person to sit. You can get other people in. We had about 5, 6 people in there, but it was small. All sandy kind of floor,
Mm.
kind of rounded. Nothing happened.
You would now.
Huh?
You're a little more sensitive.
That last part you were talking about, greed,
Yeah.
lust, and hate, creating measurements and signs. What is that?
That's part of craving, that's distraction. I like it, I don't like it, mind.
That's what they mean when they're talking about measurements.
Yeah.
Like I'm better than you,
Mm-hmm.
or you're at this level and I'm at this level, and
All of that.
it's your mind
And more.
shooting out
Yeah.
thoughts and signs.
No, it's basically having a mind that has craving in it.
Yeah.
Because those kind of things, measurement doesn't come up when you don't have craving. Because you're too busy watching.
It's really the analysis.
That's a Western disease, analyzing.
Yeah.
I'll try not to do it anymore right now. Because I have more questions, but...
That's okay, you can have all the questions you want.
As you're going through the jhanas, it seems like you're traveling along kind of dependent origination in some way.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That's the way I've been teaching it anyway.
Yeah. So you're kind of figuring it out as you go. It's not like you do all this and then you have to understand.
No, you're
Yeah.
teaching yourself. Each level of jhana is a level of understanding of how dependent origination works. That's why when you get to the final part and you see it, I mean, your mind just goes, wow, and you understand it. Okay, let's show some be suffering ones,
Be suffering, fear, fearless, be. May you shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share the spirit that we have thus acquired, and the habitation of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu.